Papa, the president of 3D Lexia Cosmos NGO, and we're so excited that in Geneva Peace Week 2020, we're going to release a series of episodes called More Space and Love for SDGs. In these episodes, we're going to have teachers collaborate with astronauts and space scientists to create planetary solutions to address the planetary complex challenges together with their students from their classrooms. In this first episode, we're having a very special lady with us. She's a former NASA astronaut, Dottie Metcalf Lindenburger, and she was a previous teacher, a classroom teacher. Dottie was a classroom teacher who became a NASA astronaut. Isn't that cool? She's going to help us by giving us profound insights, very powerful insights to inspire teachers to transform their classrooms with the power of cosmic citizenship education in order to be able to create the new generation of cosmic citizens who are going to transform the world with actions on SDGs with the power of the cosmic love. This is an initiative by the SOS4Love project where students organize solutions for love and peace in the world, acting for the 17 goals of sustainable development with the power of the heart and mind. More than 500,000 students for 65 countries are in. So in this year, through the SOS4Love project, we're so excited to release these episodes where teachers collaborate with astronauts, space scientists to transform Earth with the power of the cosmic love. And don't forget that in this pivotal moment for the survival of our planet, we always have to keep in mind and the heart that vera spera ad astra. Enjoy this cosmic ride.
When NASA launched the first American woman into space, it was an inspiration for many young girls, including a third grader who made this papier-mâché astronaut from a bottle of ketchup. In 2004, Dottie Metcalf Lindenburger's dream of going into space came within reach when NASA selected her for astronaut training. Despite the fact she had always wanted to follow in the footsteps of both parents and become a teacher, which she did, it was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream to become an astronaut. Now, Dottie looks ahead and to the many ways that she can be both teacher and astronaut. She says she'll look for ways to instill a desire for learning and a curiosity for math and science, just as her parents did for her.
And I just see this as kind of another thing that human beings do as explore, and we get to be a part of that group now that's going to look beyond Earth and go back to the moon and look at Mars and look at all these places beyond it. It just seems natural. It seems like a place that we should be going.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Space Camp graduate, teacher, astronaut, and Space Camp Hall of Fame inductee, Dottie Metcalf Lindenburger.
Hi, I'm retired astronaut Dottie Metcalf Lindenburger, also a former high school teacher and a mom of a 13-year-old. I want to say congratulations to Angeliki and to the Ambassadors for Love SOS project. I'm wishing you the best. How do I see space as a canvas for interconnectedness? First of all, space is something that we as a greater society have looked up to from the ancient past. The stars brought curiosity to many people across the globe, and they incorporated it into their stories, their legends, and into their understanding of how the cosmos works and how they could farm and live here on Earth. It guided people in travel, and like I said, it created beautiful stories that have been passed on. We now have the opportunity to not just look up and be curious about the stars, but also to live up. We've had people living in orbit for almost 20 consecutive years on board the International Space Station. That brought together 15 core nations with many other countries participating. So far, 19 other countries have had a astronaut or a cosmonaut live on board. It's also brought people together for science. There's been so many thousands of scientific experiments that have made life better back here on Earth. So space is absolutely a way for making a place for interconnectedness. I think some of the crucial skills are the ability and willingness to work hard. Many of the things that we do not come easily to us. Some of us experience additional challenges because of learning style. And I know that Angeliki has worked diligently with students who have dyslexia and are decoding language. But the hard work that they put in, it pays off. Just like for astronauts, the hard work that we've put in paid off for us to be able to explore and live in space. I also think people have to remain curious, and students must be willing to follow that curiosity, to persist in after the questions that they have, not expect easy answers always. You know, we live in a day and age where we can look something up on a search engine and we think we can just get an answer like that. But the harder questions in life are not that easily attainable, and we have to be persistent and work after them. And I also hope that people are able to have empathy, to understand who they are, but then also be willing to understand who others are and what the history of those people are and how it may impact or not impact them. So being able to think critically and to think through in these problem-solving ways, to be curious, to work hard, and to have empathy. Space has been used by young people for, like I said, over 20 years of the International Space Station. Before that, on board with the space shuttle, with Soyuz vehicles, with Mir, Apollo, just all the history that has been going back have related back to students and have had many times projects that were done or connections that were done through ham radio where they got to actually interact with astronauts or cosmonauts. And now more and more we're seeing students fly experiments to space, whether it be through space satellites or through actually little cubes that are on board the International Space Station, and students can receive data and follow along the whole journey of their projects. It's really awesome to know that 8th graders have the power, or actually I think middle schoolers have the power to control cameras through the Sally Ride Earth Cam and take photos of places down on the Earth that they want to understand better. So there's just all these different ways that students can interact with space and learn about it. And again, I talked about curiosity before, but space makes students really curious. And that helps with peace and with learning, because in their curiosity, they'll oftentimes want to understand more about themselves. And in understanding about themselves, it comes back to, how do I live here and how is that different in space? How do I live here and what is happening to where I live? The International Space Station has been a place where we had to learn how to live and then think about how those systems can be taken out into exploration. So for example, how do we get power? Power, of course, is from huge solar arrays that charge batteries. So we've improved technology of the solar panels and then also of battery charging. We can bring that back here to places where we can have renewable energy through the solar energy, which again makes life back here on Earth more sustainable. Another example, water. Fresh water is critical for life. On the International Space Station, we were spending a lot of money to launch water. How about we recover the water, the urine, the sweat? Well, now we do. We've been doing it for actually over a decade. And through using our environmental life control system. we can recover 65 to 85% of urine and sweat and the humidity that we breathe in and out, so our vapor. That's pretty incredible. Well, again, systems back here on Earth, we're learning how to improve and clean water, because as we know, there's a limited amount of fresh water on Earth, and making better systems and the recovery of those systems so that everyone can have that crucial piece of life, fresh water. There's so much else that students can connect through to learn about how to live sustainably and how to live in space, and how that returns back to here on Earth. Science helps us meet basic needs, and in meeting people's basic needs, then they're able to do additional things that are above and beyond. More and more, the basic needs are harder to come by because of climate change, with global warming. We talked about making sure that people have clean and fresh water to drink, making sure that we can grow food, and that we are not limiting where people can grow food by either drowning it with rising seawater, or causing problems with saltwater intrusion, or just changing the climate so much that the food that they're used to growing there cannot be sustained there anymore. So meeting basic needs, science is able to help understand and break down the problems and then come up with solutions. We can also make change with science. We can bring in the data, interpret it, understand it, and then think about how to solve problems. We need to keep people healthy, and we have learned quite a bit on board the International Space Station about how our own body works and how we can make better medicine, how we can help people with bone loss, people that are in the hospitals who have to be bedridden, people with cancers, vaccinations, etc. And science is therefore a tool for peace, because it can take in the data and make peaceful solutions in solving these problems. But it takes all of us. We're all problem solvers. We're all the thinkers. It's not just one of us working alone. The great thing about being a scientist is knowing that you have a piece of information that you're excited to share with others, and they have information that they can share with you. We need all the great minds working on it, and that means we need students' great minds working on it. So again, I just want to say congratulations to Angeliki and the SOS4Love project. I wish everyone the best, and I hope that people understand that by exploring, understanding space, working hard, being curious, having empathy for others, being willing to take hard decisions and work hard and persist, those are the types of skills that we need in the future for our students. And I think that by being inspired and having a love for space, that students will find ways to use science to help solve some of the biggest problems. Thank you.
The shuttle ride was very exciting, nothing that I could quite ever imagine.
Space Shuttle Discovery is rolling into a heads-down position, putting it on course for the International Space Station.
I grew up just watching the shuttle. Tried to see it launch when I was really young in Florida, but the weather kept our family from being able to see it. Followed it when I was a high school teacher with my students, and then was lucky enough to be hired and to join a really great crew. When I found out I was selected, of course, I was very excited. And, you know, we all see what astronauts do for a short period of time, and that's when we fly in space, but I had no idea what the training would be like.
You know, we've spent many hours in the neutral buoyancy lab back in Houston with very capable divers, and it's just really neat to see everything come together. I think the most important thing is all of those simulations and training events actually prepare you for exactly what you're doing. Before the launch, we were really focused, thinking over the last lessons that you've learned. And then once we got on orbit, you have the mindset of, let's really just get this job done and do it very well. You lose all track of time. You don't know which meal you're eating sometimes, because really you're just going from work event to work event to make sure that the mission is carried out successfully. The hardest thing for me so far is actually just doing some of your morning operations. As you can see, my hair is really long and curly, and you can't really wash your hair in space. We have this camping shampoo that you run through, and then you kind of comb it through your hair and you try to towel it off. But it's much easier for me to take a shower on Earth. But today, we were doing a lot of transfer, and that is so much easier than on Earth. In fact, yesterday, my friend Naoko moved almost 3 tons of equipment, all with her legs, through the International Space Station. Well, some with her hands too. But in space, it's much easier to be a mover. As you can see, floating is probably one of my favorite things, and I wish that I could float all the time. In fact, I have a 3-year-old daughter back on Earth, and she asked her grandparents, "How does mommy do that?" And I hope she's not trying it at home. But floating is one of my favorite things. Looking out the window, I've had a chance to watch the crescent moon. It's a waning crescent. Looked at some really cool constellations, and then just being in the cupola window or any window that you can get into and looking at the beauty of the Earth, it's amazing. Although I didn't grow up on the West Coast, I spent a good chunk of my life out there going to college and teaching. And we came up over Portland, Oregon, and we could pick it out, and then we came down through the Rockies, and then we even came over our new home in Houston, and it's just looking at the Earth never gets old.
I knew that I wanted to teach or do something to give back to society, and so I went back and got my teaching certification at Central Washington University. Then I went off and taught high school at Vancouver School District at Hudson's Bay High School. When I was teaching astronomy, one of my students said, "How do you go to the bathroom in space?"
So, like a good teacher, I said, well, I don't know the answer to that question, but you could get up, and I'm definitely going to look it up because you stumped me.
And I looked it up that night, and at the same time they had posted that educators could become astronauts. And so I had the answer to my student's question, but I also got an answer to a dream that I had for a long time, and so I applied to the astronaut position.
The educator astronaut is not a teacher from space. They're an integral part of the crew. I'll be on the flight deck for ascent and entry, and then I'll be doing a lot of transfer on the mission, as well as working the shuttle robotic arm, and I'll be the IVA, or the intravehicular crew member, for the 3 spacewalks.